I grew up in an Indian family, totally different religion, and growing up in this other faith, being the first generation in this country, my parents are both from India and I'm the oldest. One of the things that I really struggled with growing up in this country and in a different religion was what it meant to be, in that culture, but also in the religion. And so there was a lot of shaky foundation for me growing up. I didn't really have that conviction or have that spirit in me of that religion. And so, growing up was more tradition as far as going to the temple and being in that culture. So when I was in college, I went to Clemson University. I was a junior there and actually met another Clemson student who invited me to go to FCA. And so I started going to FCA with her. The major problem was I was going to FCA, but I was still caught up in the world, drinking, partying, hanging out with people that were not the best of influences. And all of this kind of started when I was in high school and then just got exacerbated as I got to college because I really had no foundation growing up, no conviction of right or wrong, really, just do whatever I felt like doing at the time. So it wasn't until I met my friend Tiffany who I really could see Christ in her. She'd never slapped me over the head with a Bible. She never threw a bunch of Bible verses at me. From the start, I could see her living out her faith, and that is what drew me close to Christ because it was real. It was the one real thing that I could see. 22 years ago, September the 8th, 1998, I gave my life to Christ at an FCA meeting in front of about 2,000 other college students. I went down and called on him to save me and change my life. I didn't really know at that time what that meant, and it was pretty scary, pretty emotional, and looking back on it now, it's the best decision I ever made. It's still the most real thing in my life. But when I did make that decision early on, wasn't really accepted by my family, and I grew up in a very tight-knit family. I love them all, but that was just the one thing that really, began to take us apart and separate us. There were times where I really questioned my faith, and was this really worth it? Was it really worth having, parents, siblings, extended family, really upset with me for making this decision and, for a point in my life completely cutting me off. But every time I began to question my faith, God revealed how He was going to continue to take care of me. And He continued to show up. He continued to be faithful. So fast forward now 22 years, God's still working in my life. God's the most important thing in my life and the most real thing in my life. And I pray every day that my family sees that they see that this was not just a phase that I was going through as a college kid, not a cult that I was joining. This is the most real thing in my life. And so, I just pray that if you're watching this, that, you can know that God is real. God was very real to me in the beginning. I could see Him in someone else. So, make sure that if He's in your heart and you're living for Him, that other people see it. Because someone like me who was 21 when I got saved, that's what it took for me, is just to see that someone had never opened a Bible. In fact, the first Bible that was given to me was a children's Bible. And, that spoke volumes. It's really about walking the walk and seeing Christ living in someone else.